All right, that looks good. And that screen is up and active. So I guess welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Rich Charpentier. As always, thanks for stopping by and hanging out for a few minutes. So I was having some problems here just a minute ago with the stream bitrate. I got a notification from YouTube. So if we have any latency issues or anything, I see that we've already got one person on here, and there might not be a lot of people today since it is Memorial Day weekend here in the US and it's Monday, and so I'm still sticking with my doing live streams every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So folks out on the East Coast, that's 11 your time. And if you're overseas, well, I could look up your time zone. So today we're talking about a couple of things. One of the major topics today we're going to be talking about is doing construction progression viable? Is it something that there's demand for? And that question is thanks to Jerry, who's been a subscriber here, dropped a couple notes. So thanks for the question, Jerry. That was an awesome one. Before we go down that road, I've got my little note sheet here today. So I've had a couple people ask, because on the last live stream, had an opportunity to bid on a job. Unfortunately, I am not the guy for the job. So I went out and took a look at the location where new construction is going to be going on. Absolutely beautiful location, really, really high-end neighborhood, Northern Prescott. And you're looking at multi-million-dollar homes there. So, well, let's roll it back. A person who knows me knows that I fly drones as part of my business. And the job site that they were working on, the person managing the job site said, hey, I'm thinking about having drone work done to document this, because this is the biggest project this particular general contractor has ever done. So this is a one-off for them. They usually don't do things this large, and they thought about documenting the process, which is a great idea and a great marketing tool. When they first got in touch, so my friend put them in touch, they dropped me a note, and it was pretty much just a simple, what's your price? Anyone who's been on this channel for a while with me knows that that's a bad sign. The first question, people are always going to want to know, hey, what are you charging? And that's a reasonable question, but the answer is very dependent on a few things. Let me put it to you another way. What's a new house cost? Well, there's a lot that goes into the answer for what's a new house cost, or what does a car cost? Once again, it's going to depend on a lot of things. So what does a new house cost? Well, it depends on the property you bought to build the house. It depends on how big the house is going to be. A house that's 2,000 square feet is going to use so many materials. A house that is, let's say, 8,000 square feet with a greenhouse, that's probably going to cost a little more than a 2,000 square foot home, right? So general contractors and home builders and auto dealers, they get price questions as well. But oftentimes when I get questions about photography or web work, people just want to know the price. And the price is dependent. Hey, a website with online sales, let's say a WooCommerce website, is probably going to cost more than a single page website that just describes your business. So that first contact, that first communication, I was super excited because I know the location, and it's definitely a place I'd like to fly because it'd be a great showcase for my own business. But when I saw the initial contact, I was like, uh-oh, it's one of those, what's the price? And in the case of drone flight, there are a lot of factors that come in, just like there are in house building or in buying a car. If you walked into a, let's say a Jeep dealership and you said, what does a car cost? Well, I don't know. Are you looking for a Jeep? Are you looking for a Jeep Wrangler? Do you want a soft top? Do you want a hard top? Do you want a stereo? Is it a two-door? Is it a four-door? Hey, all of these factors go into the price. So a two-door stripped-down Jeep is not going to be the same price as a four-door decked-out off-road Jeep with a hard top and a soft top. The prices are different because the amenities and the extras add up. So when I see those types of questions, when people get in touch with me, what's the price of a thing? That throws up my first red flag. If in the conversation they say we'd like to know the price and we'd like to know some of the options, and as I've said in some of my classes online and on this channel overall, there are a lot of dependencies. So one client might want to do ongoing flights, construction progression work. Another client might want you coming out to their location only one time. Another client might want video and stills and a two-dimensional model and a three-dimensional model. Okay, this is going to change the price. Other clients just want you to come out to do a twilight aerial shot for a real estate project where they're selling a home and where they just wanted a couple of pretty aerial shots. So 2 or 3 pretty aerial photos at sunset do not equate to two-dimensional modeling, three-dimensional modeling, video editing, photo editing, and doing something every week or every 2 weeks or once a month. Every project's different, and your pricing is going to depend on your conversation. So after I got the initial email from this particular guy, I did my next step, which is I actually looked into who they are. I always do this with everyone. Every one of my clients, I go do a search on them on the web to find out who they are, if they're a legitimate company, what types of projects they've done. And what I found with this general contractor who had already let me know in email, this is the biggest project that they've ever done, and they wanted to showcase it. So I looked them up and I could only find a LinkedIn account on them. The LinkedIn account had one contact on it. And then also a couple of home builder association web pages as well. So that was it. No other internet presence, no own website, nowhere to go to see the quality of their work, see images in their work. So previously they haven't prioritized visually showing people the types of projects and types of construction they do. So I did get back to him. I explained our process. I explained a couple of possibilities. I even sent along some links to show him what was possible. And didn't hear anything for days, which is another little flag. And finally, I called and left a voicemail for him, and I should have insisted on some actual voice before I said anything about any prices, because I gave him an example price of one project, and I said to him, we can do other things as well. He got back with short 2-sentence thing saying, I think I'm going to go in a different direction. As it turned out in further conversations with the friend of my friend, this particular general contractor moves around a lot, leaves projects hanging for a little while, and most of the personnel on site are barely above minimum wage. And doing a project like this, you need some highly skilled construction folks there. So, all of it kind of summed up to, that initial gut reaction of just another, what's the price going to be? And I know a lot of you on my channel ask, so what's your price, Rich? What's your price? Your prices are going to depend on the services you offer. You must have conversations with your potential clients about what it is they're looking for. You need to educate them on your process and on the time frame. In the case of this particular job, it was over a 30-minute drive one direction. So we've got an hour of driving time invested. It's in a pretty remote location. There are several other homes in the area. They're giant homes. They're a good distance because they all have a lot of acreage. But then you have to start thinking about, well, what's my flight time going to be? How many batteries am I going to use? Do I need to bring a second drone? Am I covered with insurance, liability, also, my own workman's comp, all those types of things. They all factor into that price. And having a conversation with your potential customers in email is okay as a starting point, but you really need to have a verbal conversation to explain the options. after learning a little more about the particular general contractor, I'm not too sad. I'm sad that I'm not flying that location because I think that location would be awesome. Hey, Jack, how are you doing this morning? And Matt M, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in here, guys. And let me know on the chat here if there's anything weird going on. It had told me that the stream connection wasn't so healthy before, so I'm keeping an eye on it. And while I see that you guys have said howdy in the chat stream, it's saying that there's only one viewer right now, so that's a little weird. So anyways, I've been talking for a few minutes about the fact that the bid that I was doing last week, that one has fallen through, and we're talking a little bit about pricing. And while we're on the topic of pricing, so like I said, people contact me all the time and say, well, how should I price this, Rich? It's hugely dependent on the market you're working in, the services you're offering, how many times you're going to the location. It's not just a cookie cutter thing. Hey, every one of these flights is $1,000. It's nothing like that. So you need to establish what the client needs. You need to help them understand what goes into what they're looking for. Okay, the stream's perfect. Thanks, Jack. That's awesome to know. I was wondering because it gave me a warning first thing this morning. So if you see my head flicking over, the connections over here. Hey, Rich, it shows on my end that there are 10 watching. Okay, so I must be having a weird thing with YouTube Studio right now. I've been getting used to OBS and YouTube Studio, and it seems to be working pretty good. But sometimes weird little messages pop up, so I need to do some more reading. I want to add a little bit more OBS stream, so I'm still learning, but I'm having fun with these live streams. I hope you guys are too. Because I look forward to the Monday things. I was actually waiting around an hour early this morning. But so I might have dodged a bullet with this particular bid, and I'll be keeping watch. But when you see that, the potential client has no internet presence whatsoever, they have no gallery or portfolio of the types of jobs they're doing, that could be a really good indicator that, yeah, they're probably looking for their neighbor down the road. The neighbor's kid just got a drone, and maybe they'll go out and do it for 25 bucks. Unlicensed, no Part 107. There's a lot of that around. I ran into a realtor one time when I was out flying the drone. We were doing a search for somebody's missing dog, so a couple of drone pilots came out to help. And I met this realtor, and I was talking to him, and he had a DJI Phantom Pro 4, and he didn't fly that often. He wasn't a Part 107 pilot, but he was using some of his aerial images for real estate sales. So I had a conversation with him for a few, and I said, you need your Part 107 for that. But a lot of people will try to get around that, and they'll do commercial work even if they're not a commercial pilot. And you do have to, you're not really competing with those guys because there's no competing with it. Hi, Pete. Welcome aboard. Florida. I used to live in Florida, a little town called DeLand, so over near Daytona. So, all right, the next thing. So, before I forget, so I've been reading another new book because we're looking at doing some expansion of our services. So last week I talked about Nathan Kuhl and Rich Baum and their interior photography work and their lighting techniques. Really great stuff. I picked up Nathan Kuhl, one of his other books. So I've gotten a couple books from him because I like supporting other creators as well. And he's got great information. He's got great information on the YouTube channel. But so I picked up one on his particular business and how you approach the business. And like I've said here on channel a lot, it's when people say to me, what's the price, Rich? It's dependent on a lot of things. It's dependent on your market. And that's exactly what Nathan Kuhl also said in his book. So he does have some pricing formulas. They're not, it's how much do you want to make? What's your investment? What's your equipment cost? And you'll see that in a lot of photography training videos and drone training videos. It really does depend on where you are as to how you're going to price things. So, a drone pilot in New Hampshire is going to have different opportunities than a drone pilot in Phoenix, Arizona, or in Orlando, Florida. So it's different markets, and you're going to have to gauge your market. You're going to have to do some competitive research, which means some time in front of the screen, finding out what your competitors in the area are doing, who the high-end guys are, who the low-end guys are, and figure out who you want to be and start building your portfolio. And then you can start working up your prices. I know, we get the calls all the time. What's the price? What's the price? What's the price? And, it depends. It really is, the difference between a 2,000 square foot home and an 8,000 square foot home. Going to be a huge price difference. And doing giant models and tying up my computers means I'm going to charge you more. Doing a couple simple photos and maybe a quick video means I'm going to charge you a little less. Now, before we get into Jerry's question, which was the inspiration of today's live stream, I wanted to just share with you. So I've been doing some new advertising on my own website and some cleanup on my own website. You've got to keep up with your own marketing. And I'm kicking myself for letting some things get a little too neglected because we got a lot of great material. So I just wanted to show you this. So this is not a final thing or anything, but I'm just playing this video real quick for some fun so we can see some moving things and shiny objects. Now, in all seriousness, so flying outside the rental house this weekend, we had some breezes, if you can't tell. So I was just doing a quick little video. We're actually sitting down with a realtor tomorrow to talk to them about some of their needs, because they've had some disappointments with the drone imaging and video that they've been getting from the person they're dealing with. So they wanted to see what we can do. So we're going to be having a conversation with them tomorrow. So I put together a couple little fun packages. So these are just some interior shots of our place, because I was trying out Nathan and Rich Baum's some of their lighting techniques. So I was having a little fun this weekend. And, yes, this is partly about work and earning a living, but to be doing the drone work, I'm expecting that you enjoy doing it too, and that you enjoy flying your drones. And so I was have fun doing general photography and landscape photography. So it's nice to break things up and not be so fixated on the drone work all the time, and instead have some fun with imaging. So there was that little one. Folks over on my Patreon channel, you've seen a couple new advertisements that I'm setting up for the website. Thanks for the feedback, everybody, on that. And by the way, thanks to all the patrons who are subscribed to this channel. I appreciate it. And I never do big pitches on it, but if you do want to support the channel, down in the right-hand corner of the screen, we've got the patreon.com/Rich Charpentier. No, it's not clickable. You can't make clickable things in OBS, apparently. So now let's move on to the big question, and we'll talk more about pricing stuff. The bottom line is photographers, drone operators, a lot of service professionals, we don't have cookie cutter pricing. We have some general ideas that we can share with people, but when it comes right down to it, until you have the conversation with the potential customer about what it is they're looking for, you can't give them a great idea of price because you don't know all the services they want to utilize. So let's get on. So Jerry asked the question about, drone construction jobs. So bottom line, the question comes to, is this a viable thing to do? Or is there a lot of drone construction progression jobs out there? And the answer, once again, it's another one of those, it depends. You guys are going to hate me for that, right? It does depend. It depends greatly on where you are. I used to live in New Hampshire, in a tiny town called Sandown, New Hampshire. And, lots of acreage, a lot of space between homeowners, and not a lot of people living there. So there wasn't a lot of ongoing construction in that town. And if I plopped down and said to myself, I want to make a living doing drone construction progression reporting in Sandown, New Hampshire, I'm going to be bankrupt really fast. Now, where I'm located, I'm in a place called Prescott, Arizona. And Prescott is in another building boom. Prescott is a beautiful location. It's got some amazing outdoor amenities. We've got Granite Mountain. We've got the Granite Dells. We've got several little lakes. They're actually ponds, but the folks out here think anything bigger than a puddle is a lake compared to back on the East Coast. But so many recreational opportunities, a historic downtown, so a lot of people want to move here. And this has always been a huge retirement community. But recently, there's been a lot of new projects that have been started. And when I say new projects, I mean thousands upon thousands upon thousands of new homes. The other Saturday morning, I took a quick ride out, just a ride down there. This is an iPhone photo, so this is a throwaway photo. I was just grabbing a couple of images really quick. By the way, I'm using Kino for managing some of this stuff today because I've got a couple things to show you. So, all right, I did a little pano with the iPhone. What you're looking at out here, this is one of the new build sites. And there are multiple home resellers here. So they're doing the construction and then they're doing the home sales as well. And this particular location is close to KPRC, so the local airport. It's actually under 5 miles away. It is definitely a no-fly area unless you get a waiver or authorization. So you'd have to do some submitting, and you're not going to be flying very high as a drone pilot here because you're that close to KPRC. The planes are coming in really low, so the residents are going to get used to being close to a very active airport. And the airport is so active, we have Prescott is being ruined. Brian, it's actually been breaking our hearts. We just read an article this weekend about what's going on with Save the Dells. I got here in 2007 with my Airstream and lived out of my Airstream for over a decade just because I enjoyed the place so much and I wanted to be around the rocks. But yeah, there's development and then there's overdevelopment. In our case, we're working with construction companies and we're not working out at these sites. And, it's going to be one of those choices, what do we do? We've actually been having a conversation here in the household about the changes happening here. But, the big part is answering Jerry's question was, in the case of the Prescott area, there is tons of growth. I think one of these projects over the course of decades is supposed to be like 10,000 homes. That's a lot. So this is another photo from one of these new developments. So this is a show home. So, for people to come in and take a tour. So like I said, I took a ride through these neighborhoods over the weekend specifically. So Jerry, you're the guy who spurred this one on. So in the case of where I am, there is a ton of construction going on. And so there are a lot of opportunities for drone construction progression reporting. So if you want to do this type of work and you're in a location like this, there's a lot of opportunities. You still have to knock on doors. You still have to get found. And it's still going to take time. It's not an instant snap decision for some of these companies. And in my case, I've reached out to several of the big companies doing this, reached out to them multiple times, and never heard back. So some of them have their own internal staff doing this. Others are just bypassing this. Some of them still don't see the value in it. And then others, like the folks that we're finishing up with, Clark Wayland, they got it right away, and they have passed along referrals. The other big thing that you should keep in mind is the work you do. If you do a really great job, you are going to be getting referred without a doubt. So I'm operating up here, and I've had multiple referrals now in the Phoenix and Tucson areas thanks to the work that we've been doing. So we've been getting a lot of good coverage from our clients, so we appreciate that. So I'm just arrowing through, so just to give you this idea. So Jerry, I actually went out and grabbed the drone yesterday just to show some of the areas. So what you're looking at here, and this is actually a video, and this is a very slow video, because I had the drone just going super pokey. Off in the distance, you can see the granite dells on the left-hand side. This is actually what attracted me to Prescott, Arizona back in 2007. I am a rock climber. I haven't climbed at all this year, but this place is very well known for climbing. Granite Mountain out there in the distance has some amazing climbs and bouldering areas. So I was just passing through here in 2007, and I said to myself, this is the closest I've ever been to some amazing climbing opportunities. And I ended up staying. I was traveling around with an Airstream, and I stayed. I don't like the development stuff that's happening toward the Granite Dells. And I'm not going to get into the politics and things of that one. You can go do some reading, because there's been some things that a lot of the community hasn't been happy with, and then a lot of things that they're okay with. So, the growth that we're talking about in this area, so what we're looking out at, this is going to be developing outward. So there's going to be more homes getting built toward Granite Mountain, Granite Basin, and the Granite Dells. And so it's, you're not going to have as many of the views. That's one of the things. Let's move over to the next one. So I just wanted to continue on with this. So as you can see in the location that I'm in, tons of opportunities. And if I go do more door knocking and be a little pushier, I'm not a marketing guy when it comes to knocking on the door or cold calling and things. So I depend a lot more on my website and word of mouth and referrals. And so as you can see off in the distance, this is a community called Granville, and Granville is also growing as well. Let's move on to the next one. So that was Granville. Here we go. And so some more of the construction views. I'm actually flying into the sun. So this is B-roll. I'll collect B-roll here and there for other projects. You never know when you need an image of a construction site or a pretty place that you're flying over. So you can see off in the distance, we've got more homes over here that have just been recently developed. 1 year ago, none of these homes were here at all. They were not here. So this expansion is going on in a big way. A lot of new homes are going into the area. So for me, lots and lots of opportunities. Where you're located, the opportunities might not be as good. So, down in Phoenix, great opportunities. Down in the Tucson area, another whole block of great opportunities. We've been looking around down there to see about where else areas we could serve. I've seen so many advertisements for needs of drone pilots in New Mexico, Nevada, Colorado. So it depends on if there's expansion going on in a community. And beyond just all of these new homes, you also have to think about new services. Apparently there's going to be some new building company kind of competing with Home Depot. So they're going to be building something. Several new affordable apartment complexes are supposedly going in from what I've read. Let me see. Superintendents, few eyes as possible, scanning their site for OSHA violations, other problems. They'll be resistant to aerial images. Eric, you do have a good point, and yeah, some of them might be concerned about it, but some of them are adopting it to understand where they're at, if they're on schedule, if they're behind schedule. And the folks that I've been flying for, they're actually doing it for themselves and for their venture capitalists, investors. So there's that. But yeah, you've got a great point, Eric. If they don't want violations being seen, then the flights might be bad. Hold on one moment. I've got to step away just for 1 second. Something just fell over on the other side here. While I was picking that up, I also took a quick sip of water. So you get the idea. Some areas are going to be busier. Some areas aren't going to be as busy. So you're going to have to take a look at your market and, ask yourself, is this a place? Is there a marketplace close by? Is there a larger town or a larger city in your area? And then you also have to take into consideration what Eric said here, that some of the folks would be resistant to the aerial images. And it's really going to depend on the projects and, who's involved and who's requesting it. Like I said, in the case of one of my projects, venture capitalists and investment bankers asked to be kept apprised of the locations. Rather than flying out here regularly, rather than putting their own boots on the ground, they're finding that the drone flights are valuable to them. So there is that. Now, let's pull up the next one just to give you another feel for this. Let's play it really. So this one is just doing a short little orbit. I put this up yesterday. So the homes that are close in the foreground here, they've been here for a little bit, but the ones that are right out here where my mouse is moving around, last year these weren't here. They were, you know, sticks and bricks. They weren't finished out yet. So this entire area has filled in massively, and I'm going to show you something on Google Earth momentarily. Let's continue on with this. And out in the distance, you can actually see, so this entire area over here is flattened out. So they have all of these earth mover vehicles where the mouse is. And this has just been going on for the past couple, I'd say maybe a month and a half or so. They've been flattening this whole area out. They've been moving dirt. They've been moving some of the fill over to here. So I guess there's going to be more homes down here. But so if you can't tell, tons and tons of work going on. Now, you know, I was thinking about Eric's comment here, and he's spot on. One of the other things I do know is a couple of the companies do have their own internal pilots who are flying not just for progression stuff, but they might be doing volumetrics, fill analysis, you know, using ground control points to actually do modeling, using RTK. So not only is it you doing your own standalone business, there are opportunities to go in-house for some of these companies. So that's another approach, especially if, let's say you're in an area that doesn't have a bunch of growth going on, then you could get on board with one of these companies doing some flight services for them. And I'm sure they'd have some requests like, don't show off people without their hard hats and things. So who knows? Whoops, sorry about that. I hit that one. But, you know, who knows whether or not this is going to become more common or less. From what I'm seeing and the amount of contacts I get, I think it's becoming more common for a lot of these builders who do want to track this. And, you know, when you provide them with the aerial data and with the final products, what you show and what you don't show, this is a big thing I've always talked about in photography. Editing doesn't just come in where I'm changing the sky color. You know what I hope you understand what I'm saying. Editing starts the moment when you make a decision of what to shoot and what not to shoot. For years, we've been working with RV parks and resorts, and those RV parks and resorts have sometimes said to us, hey, if you could avoid shooting these RVs that are in here right now, because they're making our place look a little more ghetto, and focus on these higher end RVs. You know, the edits start at the moment you select your subject. And in some cases, they might say, we only want these things flown and shown, and we don't want these things flown and shown. All of this, you know, comes about when you have your conversations with your potential customers. So I'm hitting play a little more because I also wanted to show you this area right out here. So we see two more earth movers right in here. This just started getting plowed down and set up. There's going to be a new apartment, I think, is going in there, and up the road from there is going to be another one. So, Jerry, in the case of your question, you know, I'm in a hotbed of a lot of development right now. Oh, and I see, let's see, assuming there are 10 construction sites that are aware of the possibility of drone progression work, how many would be interested in your work? You know, I'd say probably 2 to 3 out of 10, Jerry. If you have a nice presentation set up for them, if you have some examples of what you do, so build a portfolio beforehand to show off some of those examples. Even show them, you know, I've had people ask me, can we come by your site to show people what's possible, let them know, hey, we didn't do this, but, you know, here are some of the possibilities. And if people want to have their folks stop by and check on my website, I'm not against that, so long as they let them know it's not their work, it is my work. I don't have a problem with that. And but, you know, to answer you, 4 in 10, I don't think is probably super realistic. Remember, a couple of these groups might have folks on site. And I know that one of the groups here in town, who's not the builders, but I do know that they have employees who do some drone work for them for some of the survey stuff. So I've seen that out on the job sites already. But here's the bigger thing, Jerry. You know, that 1 in 10, 2 in 10, 4 in 10. For some of these larger projects, you're going to be doing regular work for these companies. You know, one client right now that we're wrapping up has been once a month. Another client of mine has been 2 to 3 times a month, and it's been dependent on when materials are coming in to their particular location. So, you know, if you have 2 or 3 drone progression construction jobs going on, those might take up a lot of your time, and it's going to really depend on, you know, what the project is. Like these new home builds, you're not going to fly every single one of these new home builds. You'd be out there every day, all day, full time, because there's so many houses going up at the same time. So it's not a single construction crew out here working on one building. It's 10 crews working on 10 buildings, and they're rolling through these things really, really super quick. It's amazing to see some of this stuff come up. So mind-blowing, actually. So yeah, we've got a lot of construction going on here. I've had inquiries from Phoenix. I've had inquiries from Tucson. Not that many up in Flagstaff. You know, Flagstaff has some pretty tough winters, so not a place where a lot of folks, you know, when you think of Arizona and retiring to Arizona, you think of saguaro cactus and the desert. And there's actually northern Arizona, we have real winters. And in the case of Flagstaff, it's like being in New England. So they're not growing as gangbusters as some of these other areas are. All right, let's go back over here really quick. And oh yeah, the one other thing that I wanted to show you. So I'm just pulling up Google Earth Pro. I am just going to go ahead and give a click to move myself over to something. Yeah, thanks, Rich. Also, in your area, what's your breakdown between residential buildings and non-residential buildings that you've worked? So the more of what I've been doing is non-residential. We did do the Clark Wayland is residential, but it's, you know, multifamily. So it was a larger scale project. And a lot of the requests that I've been getting are raw land lately. Some single home development, some raw land where larger things are going to be going in. Like one of my other examples right now, there's going to be a new medical center going in here in the near future. And that's over near the Granite Dells as well. So they've broken ground. They've started doing things there. I don't know if they're using a drone pilot or not, because they're also in the location PRC again. So a lot of this stuff is happening really close to the airport. And as a matter of fact, let me close this little tag here and zoom this out for you. So by the way, if you haven't watched some of my other videos on YouTube, is an aerial map. This is an orthomosaic geotiff that I overlaid on Google Earth. So if you take a look at Google Earth today, I'm just going to bring it up. There we go. And as you can see on Google Earth now, you see these roads right here. Notice that there's no homes on those roads. That is completely incorrect right now. So there's a bunch of homes there. And this entire area that I flew and made a model of, this is full. This is all houses now. And on the other side, you've got Granville. And the expansion is going out this way. So this area right here, some of what you saw in the video earlier, that's all this right in here. And it's already getting whittled down here. So they're heading west. And if we start moving over here, let's do a quick zoom out. So here we are with this mapped area. Right over here to my left, there's the runways of KPRC. So we got a runway going here, and we've got a runway going here. We have where this runway is heading to the southeast, we've got a bunch of new homes going in right here. So let's see. Thinks I cost too much. Consider buying a drone and doing it yourself. They never actually want to do this. Yeah, Matt, it's you know, for this particular guy that I bid with, you know, it's okay that I lost out on it. It's reminded me, you know, to have those in-depth conversations on the phone as well. You know, there is a lot of extra work to it. When I do the Clark Wayland stuff, basically that day is accounted for me. You know, the hour round trip, the time on site, all of the editing afterward, all the post-processing, all of the model running. it completely ties up this machine for that day. So, so I got to break out another machine if I want to go cruise the web. But so, it's new homes in this area, new homes in this area, all around this KPRC. Right in here, there's actually, it's not just a satellite image of nothing. There's a bunch of new homes in there. So much development in my area. I could be busy for quite a while. But we're also picking specific kind of projects. Personally, doing that larger project for Clark Wayland really appeals to me. Looking at all these houses, I could see doing a weekly flight for construction groups, or even a monthly flight if they have outside investors. I could see that as a real possibility. And you do have to think about, do I want to do all these little homes, or do I want to do bigger job sites? When you do those bigger job sites, not only are you doing something for that client, you're building some really cool showcase properties for your own business. So, like I said, with how quickly these houses are being built, I don't see that it's realistic that you're going to go hit all the houses as a drone pilot, because you would be out for the entire day. You wouldn't be able to edit anything. You'd be recharging batteries all night, and then you'd be out there at 6 or 7 a.m. What I could see some of these larger scale, residential home builders doing is keeping track in a weekly or monthly basis. And, one of the other things that I did particularly for CW was I did all my flying on Sundays. I didn't want to be around that location when there were construction workers during the outdoor phase of this. The whole flight over people, flying over people, you need to get approval from the FAA, and it's not an easy thing to do. So what I found was doing my job at times when the crews were not on site, and when it minimized the possibility of people wandering around in there. So I wanted to do the right things. But that is one other answer to the concern of, I would general contractors want things flying around because maybe they'll see OSHA violations? Well, one of the things is, if you pick the times when construction crews aren't out there, not going to be showing any violations there. Reading back over. All right. So yeah, Jerry, as you can see, so I made a whole live stream for you, but it was an awesome question. And, the viability of this business, how far are you willing to travel? Phoenix, Arizona is an hour and a half south of me. So going down and doing projects down there, I could absolutely do. And I've turned several down this year because of timing. One of them I would have killed to do because it was for one of my other clients. They got in touch with me 3 days before they were pouring the concrete, and it's really close to an airport, and they needed it done right then. And the biggest part that completely ruled that project out for me was I was down in the Phoenix area working with another customer for 2 weeks for an RV resort. I was booked the entire time I was there with them, and there was no way I could get the project started. So I had to be honest with them and say to them, I'm booked up right now. It's a 2-year project, and this would be a great profit for me, but I can't do the start of it for you. I understand. So they did get somebody else to do it. Unfortunately, they're not satisfied with the work those other people are doing. I guess the deliverables aren't as highly stylized as my deliverables, we'll say. So they've mentioned to me a couple times they wish that I really could have started that then. So I would have totally done it. 1.5-hour drive down. I happily would have done the same kind of job that I've been doing for them. And that would have bumped up the price with that 1.5-hour drive down. And also it would have bumped up the price a little bit because Phoenix traffic is insane. So you don't need a huge quantity of these jobs to make your business viable. If you can get 3 or 4 good clients who are regular clients, who are, in this industry. Clark Wayland's been doing family residential for a long time. Like I said, way back at the beginning of this, I always research potential clients to see who they are. And when I took a look at their portfolio and what they do, I was pretty impressed. So I knew right away that this was a very serious company who'd gotten in touch with me. So I was happy to have them. But yeah, if I could get 2 or 3 more regular ongoing clients like them, this would help me balance my overall business out. Remember, in addition to the drone work, we also do web work, and everything started out with doing uh, web work for RV parks and resorts. And when I first started getting into drones, I got into drones because I thought it'd be really cool to provide some aerial video of these parks and resorts that I work with for my customers. And as it turned out, they do like that. So that was great. It was a shame that I had the conflict of scheduling because, man, that would be fun to do another big one of these. So Jerry and everybody else, I do think there's some viability. I think that it's going to depend on where you're located. Like I said, when I lived in Sandown, New Hampshire, no way. You know, I would need to be driving down to Boston. I'd be needing to go over to Manchester. And the construction projects in those areas, especially with the long winters and everything, aren't as fast paced as what you'll see in Florida or Texas or Arizona or New Mexico. You know, the Southwest and the retirees, people moving to get to warmer climates and moving into these new luxury homes. I'm in a great spot to be a drone pilot. And if I was in Sandown, I'd definitely be doing something else. Or I'd be doing what I used to do, which was the over hour commute every day into Massachusetts to do my telecom job. But so it is possible. You're going to need to look at your market. You're going to need to look at the competitors in the market space. And you don't need to look to undercut folks. You need to look to present your unique skill and how you could execute these projects for them with your own creative flair. So as many of the channel watchers here know, I'm getting a lot of great feedback from folks on channel and from clients about the progression reporting and the web presentation that we're doing. So that's been a big selling point for us. And I was just doing it to make it more convenient for my customer. And it turned out to be way more convenient for my customer. All right, everyone, I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. So as you can see, so this is the greater Prescott area, by the way, and there is a lot of growth going on. So Granite Dells, one of my favorite places in the world, incredibly location, amazing rock climbing. And then just a short 4-mile drive into town, there's downtown Prescott, very historic area. They've got Whiskey Row, they've got the county courthouse square. It is a beautiful and attractive place, so I know why a lot of people are moving here. And a lot of that movement here has stirred up a lot of controversy in the community, and that does happen. And I'm gonna stay away from commenting on that part because I don't want to, local politics is local politics, right? In the meantime, though, I am a drone pilot. I do offer services, and when clients contact me, provided they're doing things legal and above the board, if they've got a project that would work with me, I look into and consider those projects, each and every one of them. So that's the other part of this. So as always, thanks for stopping by and hanging out. And let me make sure that I didn't miss anything else. So I had my little notepad there. And yep, those were the topics for today. I love getting your questions. So Jerry, if you've got more questions or anybody else, please drop a note, drop a comment, let me know, and we can make that into another live stream. All right, with all that said, I've got to get back to doing some editing. Tomorrow we're going to be sitting down with a realtor. And the whole intent of that, we do offer our drone services, but with the whole pandemic thing going on and stuff, Jody needs to get back to shooting again. So we're going to be talking to realtors about where we could fit in for them in the area, because there sure are a lot of homes to shoot here. And I think that there's definitely enough space in the marketplace for one more photographer in the market space. So we'll see. So cross your fingers that we have a great conversation tomorrow. And I hope that you all have an awesome and amazing week. Just looking back over to the chat to make sure I didn't miss anything else. And no, looks like we're good. So have an amazing week, and we'll see you again next Monday at the same time. This one almost started late because of that weird stream problem. So I'll go back and watch through it afterward and see if there's anything glitchy. Jerry, great chat, greatly appreciated. Yep, you got your own live stream for the question. Well, that was an awesome question, and seriously, it's another one of those. It depends, but it's doable if you're in an area with some growth going on, and you don't need a bunch of them. You just need a couple of good ones. So just find a couple of good clients. You never want 200 clients that you're splitting all this attention between. If you can have 5 to 10 really great consistent clients, and develop a great relationship. If I was ever invited in-house by a couple of my clients, I'd say yes in a minute. So if they ever felt there was enough need in their business and they wanted to internalize having a drone pilot, I'd do that for them. I'd do that for them. All right, we'll see you again next week. Have a great and safe week, and yeah, fly safe too. We'll see you. All right, end the stream. And there we go.